Hello and welcome everyone to Copy and Paste, the clean and family-friendly Reddit reading podcast. This is the 6th episode of r/PettyRevenge, where the revenge may or may not be petty. It's really just perspective. Don't forget, if you like this podcast, then it would be greatly appreciated for you to like and subscribe. Thank you for joining me. Okay, let's get started. The first post by user/blue-collar-nerd. We are going a ways back here. Think I was 8 years old, so this puts the story in the late 90s. I grew up on a busy street in a suburb. All the houses are basically right next to each other. On one side of the house, we have the grumpiest, most miserable old couple in the 70s as neighbors. We have a big family and enjoy cookouts during the summer months. They hated us having parties, and we weren't even doing anything out of the ordinary. Just the type of people that would complain about basically anything for no good reason. Well, it's my 8th birthday party, and we have a typical big family get-together. Well, my favorite gift that year ended up being a Globetrotters basketball. We had a hoop and a blast playing around. Eventually, the day goes sideways when my ball bounces over grouchy neighbor's fence. All that separates our driveway/basketball court from their backyard is a stockade fence. Well, butthole neighbor was outside, proceeds to grab the ball and take it into his shed and stab it with a screwdriver. I've never seen my father so angry in my life, but he's not an idiot and didn't do anything stupid. From that day on, he never let them enjoy their backyard ever again. We could see their yard from our house, and anytime they'd go outside, he would go out back, crank up his air compressor in the garage, and slam a basketball against the backboard as hard as he could until they went inside. Didn't even pretend for a second he was doing anything, but making as much noise as possible. He never gave up, never stopped until the grumpy guy eventually died 2 years later. We take petty revenge seriously in this family. Thanks, Pops. Now the second post by user/Occasional-Mermaid. Every summer from May until the end of September, my family, husband, kid, and me, and 2 other families, one with 2 kids and one with no kids, goes camping about every other weekend or so. We always have a great time together. We camp close to the river so the kids can swim, and the guys can fish. There are small rapids close by that we walk down to and float back to camp during the day. At night we build a bonfire, and the adults sit around talking and having a few drinks, while the kids pile up in a tent to hang out or go exploring, close by with flashlights to see what is out at night. We always put our tents close together, but as far away from the edges of the site as possible, so we can have some privacy and don't disturb other campers. The campground rules state that quiet time runs 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. We have been going on these trips for several years and never had any problems or issues with other campers or campground staff. Over this past summer, we were camping and someone pulled into the campsite next to ours pretty late, maybe 7 to 8 p.m., but set their tent up on our part of the site and immediately went into their tent. They had a kayak on their vehicle and we assumed they were going to have an early morning, so we didn't say anything about it to them since it was late, dark, and we didn't think it was a big deal. Fast forward to 10:05 and someone from the front desk comes to our side, tells us they had a noise complaint about our site. The guy said the staff making rounds didn't hear us or feel we were being loud, but since they had someone call up, they had to come to talk to us. We apologized for any issues we may have caused and agreed to be quieter in case we were disturbing anyone. Maybe half an hour later, the guy comes back and says they had another call and asks us if we have heard any other people because he couldn't hear us until he got past our tents and thought maybe the complainer was accusing the wrong side. We kind of look around because we haven't heard anyone else. There's a few other sites that people sitting around fires, but we hadn't heard anyone. However, as we're glancing around, I notice that our site neighbor is peeking out their tent at us, talking to the groundskeeper. When he saw me looking, he quickly ducked back into his tent. His tent on our site and basically dry up our tents, which is probably why he could hear us so easily. After the groundskeeper left, I decided to look up the campground rules. Nothing about lights out, just quiet time. So I took one of our bright shop lights and moved it as close as possible to their tent, turned it on and left it shining like a spotlight on the tent all night. The next morning, when we all got up, they were gone. We were there for 5 more days with absolutely no issues. The third post by user/teezej. I work at a cafe in a major city in the USA. We're not listed as an internet cafe. It's completely expected that one comes in, purchases something, and then proceeds to use the internet. Technically, free Wi-Fi isn't free if you have to purchase something. So we're honest about it. Google Maps shows paid Wi-Fi, and our website explains it. Here's a revenge. The Wi-Fi went out during a very busy day. Most everyone is a regular customer and was very understanding, except for Karen. Now Karen was sitting there for 3 hours without patronizing the business. The moment the Wi-Fi went out, she was furious. I've never personally seen her before, and I'm there almost every day. Once I announced the Wi-Fi was down and I was working on the issue, she came right up to me and demanded to watch me try to fix it, while being genuinely insulting and insinuating it was being done to her personally on purpose. It wasn't. This continued for the next 20 minutes. Generally, I let most things slide. Not today, Satan. I'm not even supposed to be there working behind the counter. I'm covering. Also, I'm the manager. I run the internet here. I also specifically bought a router where I can limit or deny access to any device I choose. Most people name their computers, and it's pretty easy to guess who is who, especially if you're using like a Lenovo. Once the internet came back, I guessed her MAC address and permanently blocked her computer from our network. And of course, she freaked. I'm an idiot base level employee though. What do I know? Definitely nothing about computers. The end. The fourth post by user /Melancholiholic. An unfriendly coworker used to use my Keurig in my cubicle all the time. She brought her own pods in, so I really didn't care. Then she started emptying my Brita pitcher to fill her water bottle up every day after I left and never refilled it. Annoying, but whatever. Then one day, a friendly coworker was standing at the entrance to my cube talking to me about a serious operation his wife needed to get soon. He was clearly worried and needed to talk to someone. The unfriendly walked up behind him, tapped him on the shoulder, and snapped, "You're in the way." The guy seemed embarrassed and apologized and walked off. She walked in, starting her coffee, and walked off while it brewed. I grabbed my bottle of Mayo blackberry water flavoring and squeezed probably a third of the bottle in a cup as the coffee filled it. She never used my Keurig water pitcher again. And the final post by user /memebangerttv. I recently discovered this page and remembered about the time I was 15. I started school a year early, so I was small compared to other kids. Many of them were my friends, but this one particular guy was so insanely rude with me and it pissed me off. One day I noticed he was complaining about a maths teacher who was very, very strict. So the next day during our assembly period, I saw the maths teacher walk in the washroom and then saw the bully walk in there too. I went in there too and saw my maths teacher was in the stall and my bully was just washing his hands. So I go up there and said to him, "Yo, next class is maths and I bet it'll be fun." And then he starts to rant about how bad our math teacher is, using foul words and all that crap. I giggled a bit and then left the bathroom. And next thing I know, our teacher's asking him for his parents' number and threatening him for detention, and he's saying sorry while crying his heart out. Kinda happy I did that. You know, this is what I love about PettyRevenge. It's not serious, it's just hilarious. And unfortunately, that was it for today. If you enjoyed this podcast, I would greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate you to like and subscribe. To listen to this podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, or any more platforms, or to visit any of my socials, click the link in the description, and please feel free to send me an audio message or leave a comment. It's been a pleasure. Goodbye.